Well, I thought our kids played well on Friday night. Still, there was a lot of things we could do better. Certainly, we need to improve in a lot of areas to get ready to play what I consider a really good Duke team. I think they're experienced. They're really good defensively. It may be one of the better defenses we play the rest of the year. And, you know, historically, the last few years has kind of been a challenge. So, looking forward to having a chance to play again on Saturday, and it's good to be back home.
You've probably addressed this before, but you've got a really good group of young safeties, linebackers. I'm curious just kind of how you feel about those guys going forward and where they
Yeah, I think
better.
they're very talented. I think there's a good group, a good nucleus of young guys defensively. There's a lot of guys who probably aren't playing who I think will end up being good players that are redshirting or whatever. So they just got to be able to stay in school and keep working hard, and I think some of them have a bright future.
We got to see a little bit of Wanye and kind of the flashes of his ability, but he's sort of stuck behind Malik, the guy that's very key to the defense. Is that?
Well, we could use Malik in other places when Wanye comes along. I think as he's matured and gotten to where he understands it better, you know, especially in some sub packages and that kind of thing, you know, we can get Wanye out there more.
You and Coach Cutcliffe are the two kind of pillars of the ACC at this point.
We're the two old guys.
Yeah. I was trying to think of a nice way to say that. Kind of, but you've definitely had the edge in this series overall until maybe the last few years. But
Don't they all count?
yeah, they do all count.
Just curious.
And I was just kind of curious, you know, what kind of you've seen from that Duke program as you've been.
I think that
here.
they have made leaps and bounds since I first got here. It's they probably have, if not, I think it's either the second or third largest staff in the conference. I think they've poured a lot of resources into their program. They're you know, with the new stadium and a lot of that stuff. It was interesting just looking at the two deep. I was looking at the defense. 9 of their starters are from 9 different states. They don't have, I don't think any of their 22 two deep on defense are from North Carolina. And if you look, and I'm sure the offense would be the same, I just didn't look at it as I was looking through the personnel, but if you looked on defense, they were from Kentucky, Maryland, Virginia, New York, Connecticut, California, Alabama, Florida, and Georgia. 9 different states, which tells you they have a huge recruiting base and a huge recruiting office.
I heard you make that comment yesterday. I'm curious, like, would you want your program to get to that point where you have a wider base like that?
I would think that when you're the broader the net you cast, the more people you can find. I don't know that we would ever want to play here without kids from Georgia. No, because the football here is really good. But yeah, we wouldn't mind having a good player from California or New York or somewhere if we could find them and get them to come here. It'd be great.
Do you feel like the way that the staffing you have in the recruiting office now is now that you're in
We're
position to do
gaining.
things like that? Pardon?
I said we're gaining. We went from, you know, 3 to 5. We're gaining. I think we're trying to get it right. I think Todd understands. He's trying to get the thing right. It takes time.
You said you can still play better on offense specifically. How can you improve, and what's been the key?
We had 10 or 12 missed assignments. You know, we had 2 or 3 plays that went for nothing. We miscalled a formation in a play. I mean, it wasn't perfect, and we had to kick a field goal. So, I mean, there was things that we could have done better. Now, having said that, what they've been able to accomplish the last 2 weeks, if you go back to the last game and this game, I don't remember that happening in maybe when I was at Georgia Southern, where we could score like that consistently. But that's, I don't know exactly how many possessions, but I mean, they scored on probably like 15 or 16 possessions or something crazy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's been pretty remarkable.
I imagine that given the way things unfolded last year in Durham, there's probably a lot of internal motivation for some of the older kids this week.
You know, I don't know how kids operate. I think that it's a brand new team and it's another game, and it's important to both teams. I mean, if you want to stay alive in the conference race, it's a huge game. You know, for both teams, it's trying to get another win. You take them one game at a time. They're all hard. It's a home game for us. It's an important game. We need to put our best foot forward.
Your past defensive stats are not great, but it seems like it might be some of it might be a function of the kind of lopsided games you've played at times this year, as well as I mean, like
maybe.
last week you gave 180 up or whatever with your third defense, but
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you still got to play the whole game. It's like, you know, I think that as a whole, if you look at stats, I've always said you got to look at it as a body of work. You don't go off one game or two games. It's, you know, over the span of the season, it'll work itself out. You'll play some teams that aren't, you know, Louisville's pass defense is going to look real good after last week's game, right? But what I'm saying is if you take it out over the whole gamut, if you take it over 6, 7, 8 games, they're usually pretty much close to what they are.
in terms of, you know, we've talked about kind of trying to find the identity of this team and kind of what you think they are. I imagine it's interesting given what's happened the last 2 weeks versus the way the season started maybe to you.
You know, it was disappointing. It's, you know, I've rehashed that till I'm sick of rehashing it. I mean, we we should have won in South Florida. We gave the game away. Pitt, you got to give them credit. We played horrible in the first half. But it's like that's water under the bridge. I said all along, let's play out the year. I don't know what's going to happen from here on. I mean, you know, but before you jump off the bus, hell, you at least ought to get on the main road. I mean, it's like you got to see where the thing's going.
Have you made things simpler in the same regard for Taquan at all, as far as checks of the line or things like that?
Tried to. I think Taquan did a great job in the last game with what we asked him to do as far as the fronts go. I think, too, early on, he was trying to do too much. I mean, you got to let the guys around you play, and when you push and you do too much, and you know, like I said, we got just outmanned against Clemson. We didn't play well, and they're physically not the team. If you don't play well, they're going to embarrass you. Ask Wake Forest. I mean, they've got a lot of really good players. So it's that, and you know, we've just played better. If we'll continue to take care of the ball and play clean and play without penalties, then we got a chance to be decent on offense. If we don't, then it makes it hard.
You're getting closer to 200 wins, and is that like kind of a goal for you, or is it something you've thought about at all as a head coach?
No, not one time. I just try to think about coaching as going out there and getting better and trying to help the kids win the game. That's it. It's when as I've said before, when it's all over and done, then I'll probably sit down and take a look back and say, wow, that was a long time. But, you know, right now my focus is trying to beat Duke. That's what I ask the kids to do every week, and that's what you got to do. You can't worry about all that other stuff.